Hello everyone, welcome back to the Patrick Delugne Show. Today we have some important topic to discuss, the recent riots in France, but also most recently some minor riots and disturbance in Belgium, Switzerland and Germany. This one hits home for me because I'm half French and Belgium. I know that I've called many of my friends to try to understand what was going on. And the first thing that I wanted to say was that the situation is bad, but really not as bad as what the news want to depict. You can still go in France, you can still go to Belgium, you can still visit the area. This is not yet a war zone territory. So I just want to make the point that you can still travel to Paris if you want to. Let's get back into the subject because, as you know, there has been many demonstrations. There's been a lot of destruction, sometime total mayhem. So I wanted to get behind the real story of this event, and why not jumping into this right now? Let's focus on this subject and find out. Okay, so here's the scoop about the incident. I've done a fair amount of research with our research team in India, and everything started with a police incident where a police officer arrested a 17-year-old teenager named Naël Merzouk in France. And Naël was not old enough to drive legally, and he was caught red-handed driving a stolen Mercedes-Benz with Polish number plate. And unfortunately, it was not an isolated incident. In France, around the banlieue, there has been a lot of stolen vehicles with Polish number plate that are used to do the traffic of drugs, what we call la navette, between different parts of the city. It turned out that these plates had been linked to other drug trafficking exercise, and the police was aware of that. So the other fact that a lot of people have not covered is that unfortunately Naël has had a rap sheet of multiple arrests related to drug trafficking and other crimes. So we're not dealing with, oh my God, the poor teenager was being arrested. No, this was a criminal who had a rap sheet. The police was in its right to be suspicious. The police was in their right to stop the vehicle. So when the police officer tried to apprehend Naël, he decided to hit the gas pedal and to make a run for it. Tragically, the officer fired his weapon, aiming, he says, at wounding Naël, but he ended up, unfortunately, killing Naël instead. The incident immediately ignited a widespread outrage and demonstration with many people seeing the case as a murder. Now, the police officer in question has been arrested and he will be facing trial. So we can argue that this police officer used excessive force and could have used a teaser gun and not kill Naël. After all, this is a young boy, 17 years of age. Maybe he was a criminal, maybe he did a lot of things he should not have done, but we're talking about killing a boy and a teenager, so that's never something that should normally happen. A video of the incident was leaked, and that video clearly showed that the police actually did not exercise self-defense as he was pretending, but it was a clean shot into the yellow car, into the yellow Mercedes-Benz, and thereafter the young boy was killed immediately after the shot. The banlieue exploded, and I wanted to explain to you, because I've been using that term banlieue for you a couple of times. Banlieue is a term that we use in France that describes a suburb of a large city that is typically economically deprived, so very low-income housing, many large towers everywhere. These are housing projects where you have a large population of immigrants that live there, mostly people from North Africa, so people from Morocco, Algeria, and a lot of these people live on the fringe of the French society. So the aftermath of the incident has been nothing short of explosive. These riots are some of the worst in French history. The government has deployed a whopping 45,000 police officers and some member of the GIGN, so some of the special forces, and in some cases also the French military and French special forces in Paris to establish order. But here's a shocker: over 1,000 buildings, and that's not all, more than 1,500 businesses and stores have been targeted, resulting in a mind-boggling damage worth approximately $1 billion plus dollars. $1 billion plus euros, so close to the same in dollar. Innocent bystanders, including elderly people, women, children, have been terrorized, and many have suffered serious injury. The riots have become a real-life nightmare for ordinary citizens, happening right in their own neighborhood. So this is important because in 2005, during the riots were typically, isolated in the banlieue and did not expected at the vicinity of the large cities. In this riot, we have had many large cities, including Paris, Lyon, Lille. And so many of the large cities have been affected by these riots. The statistics released by the French authorities reveal the staggering extent of the damages caused by the riot. Over the course of the unrest, more than 3,950 people have been arrested nationwide, and the number is growing every day. And these figures are based on the Ministry of the Interior, le Ministère de l'Intérieur, data seen by the AFP news agency. The riot has specifically targeted symbols of the state, such as police station, gendarmerie. The gendarmerie is the military police, so one level above the police. Astonishingly, around 269 police stations and gendarmerie have been directly attacked. And this is interesting because when I was a young man, I had to serve in the military. I'm a retired Green Beret, and I personally was sent into the banlieue, so I know the situation quite well. And these are not welcoming environment. The people are throwing cocktail of explosive at you, urine, they spit in your face, they shoot at you. So a lot of the gendarmerie center and police center that were attacked, all the weapons were taken. So when you are actually going into banlieue, you are facing 3 or 4 levels of different security, their own security, and it is extremely dangerous to go there. So the normal police typically doesn't go there. It is only special operation unit or the GIGN that would dare to go into this neighborhood. So to come back to the riot has specifically targeted symbol of the state and approximately 100 public facilities, including 36 municipal police stations, 18 town hall and their annexes, a crèche, 2 community center, 3 cultural center, 2 media library were targeted. And this is very sad because these are really investments that have been made into the banlieue to develop a sort of esprit of the community, and where large investments were actually made to build this library, research center, community center, and these have been completely destroyed. The economic impact of the riot is extensive. Among the affected businesses, around 200 food shops and 30 of them were completely torched. The French Banking Federation reported that 370 of their branches were hit, with basically 40% of them located in the region of Paris. The damage to the businesses is estimated to be worth now probably much more than $1.1 billion. So I spoke about 1 billion of euro, but that is probably around 1.2 billion dollars. So the rioters have not spared also public infrastructure. A total of 39 buses, tramway have been set on fire, bus depot in multiple towns, including Aubervilliers, Évry, Le Blanc-Ménil, Dugny, Savigny-sur-Orge, and Provins. They were all targeted. So in Paris, 10 tramway stops were completely destroyed, again, resulting in significant financial losses. The financial implications of the riots are substantial. Insurance claim files so far are expected to be well above 300 million euro. They really certainly surpassed the insurance bill of 2004 million euro for the riot of 2005. Some estimate that the overall damage of the business could far exceed your billion plus, or have not been estimated by the Federation of Insurance, where they are asking the French government, for help. On the human level, around 700 members of the security forces have been injured during the riots, while the numbers of injury to the public remain at this stage unconfirmed. But we also know that a fireman was killed during the riot, and that's actually really, really sad, because these are people who are dedicated their life to the service of the community, and there was absolutely no reason to kill a fireman. And I think this is really a key issue here in these riots, is that the French people now have been attacked in their own cities. A lot of their infrastructure has been burned, and you see now a lot of French people rallying behind Macron, asking Macron to be very strict and to become much more supportive of the police. So let's talk a little bit about the bigger picture here. The incident happened in what they call the banlieue, as I mentioned to you, which is a collection of disadvantaged suburbs with very high 90-95% of immigrants. These were created around the 1970s, where France, Belgium, Germany were calling on government for North Africa to get cheap labor, to have these people coming into the country to build the foundation of their road system, the tramway, also to work in many different factories like Renault, Citroën, Peugeot. So a lot of these large manufacturing during the phase of industrialization were relying and depending on these workers. As the French economy continued to grow in the 80s, the 90s, in 2000, and move away from a phase of industrialized state to a phase of technology-centric state, a lot of these people lost their job. A lot of these people from North Africa were left without any job. And today, the banlieue has become a breeding ground for drug trafficking and criminal activities. They are very often linked to the drug cartel here in Mexico, in Brazil, in other parts of Russia. And we are talking here about multi-billion-dollar businesses. This is very big business. And the banlieue is basically une plaque tournante, so a center for distribution of all the drug. It has become, in a certain way, a parallel society that hasn't integrated well with the rest of France. So the banlieue is right now in France around 5 million people that live in this area. In Belgium, it's around 1 million people. And the gap between the banlieue and the rest of the country has economically and socially dramatically widened. It is what we call in French la fracture. So it is a real fracture between the traditional French society, which is predominantly Catholic and Protestant. So 98% of the population in France, in Belgium, is Catholic and Protestant. Very small percentage Protestant. And the banlieue is mostly Muslim. So let's talk a little bit about the French government response to this crisis. It is clear that the French government is determined to restore order and to address the underlying issues. There have been some proposed measures, including minimum penalty for first-time offense and considering financial penalties for families with delinquent children. But there is a catch. Some folks worry that these measures might further escalate tension and unfairly burden struggling family. France has already poured billions of euros into the banlieue, trying to uplift this community. But unfortunately, the fight against organized crime, especially drug trafficking, remains a massive challenge. And as I mentioned to you, a lot of these neighborhoods can only be approached by the military. And whenever you go there, it becomes a huge problem, okay? It is like a mini war zone. The government also is very concerned with the upcoming French Olympic for the summer of 2024, and this is certainly affecting their decision. They want to make sure that they will be able to ensure safety and security for all the participants and visitors. This Monday, a report by the journal Le Monde, President Macron proposed the idea of implementing a minimum rate for initial altercation or wrongdoing. Meanwhile, there are voices on the right calling for the revival of a plan to restrict or eliminate completely the benefit for families of offending children. Macron presented this idea of imposing financial penalty while addressing the police of the 17th arrondissement. He expressed the belief that families should face immediate financial consequences for their first offense. However, some journalists argue that such measure could further exacerbate the situation. Personally, I have a reservation about this approach, considering that many parents in this community are single parents, are single mother, and they're on their own to raise a kid. They work very, very long hours in retail shop like Carrefour. And if we put a very high financial burden on them, they would not be able to provide food to their family, and then the circle of distress basically continue. So I'm not sure that this is the right solution. But France is currently divided, and significant investment have been made into the banlieue. And unfortunately, these areas remain the hotspot of drug distribution, with extremely large amount of money being at the center of these conflicts. So if we truly want to comprehend the situation in France and Belgium and Germany to a certain extent, it is crucial to follow the money. The link between Mexico, France, Belgium, and the manufacturing and distribution of drug is a very key element at the center of this debate. Additionally, with the upcoming French Olympic, the government is determined to crack down on gangs and drug trafficking. Consequently, a Nahel case might have become a catalyst for a much larger conflict, where the French government aimed to tackle criminal activities in the banlieue once and for all. More than 250 generals have called upon President Macron to intervene and to use dramatic force. The far right has even called for immediate expulsion of the French citizens that are not respecting the code. So, I think that we are now really in the face of crisis, and we want to prevent a full-blown civil war. And in order to ensure the safety of the participant to the future Olympics and the French citizen, we need to first and foremost encourage a de-escalation of these measures. Otherwise, to me, it is clear that only a handful of tourists and athletes would dare to risk their life to participate in the Summer Olympics. And at the end of the day, there is a very high risk that the Summer Olympics would be cancelled. So as you can see, there are a lot of risks at stake. I also wanted to bring to your attention the fact that the French government has invested more than 100 billion euro into the banlieue since 2005. There has been 5 major projects done. President Macron has been pushing for many different reforms, investing in the banlieue. So it is not that Macron doesn't care. He knows that this is really a very serious subject, and very large investment have been made. Just to give you an idea, everybody knows that right now Europe is facing a very serious energy crisis, and the investment made into the energy sector for atomic energy in France is only $95 billion euro accumulated. So you can see that there has been even more investment made into the banlieue. So in order to conclude, I would like to ask you, I would be very interested to get your perspective. So don't forget to share your insight and comment in the section. This wrapped up today's discussion, and remember to keep the conversation going. Until next time, take care and stay safe. Thank you.